What is going on, everyone? Nostalgia925 coming at you with another mythological conversation episode, a series that is actually based on Digimon, but more specific on the mythological inspiration that the Digimon developers used in the making of certain Digimon. And I have to say that the Digimon franchise took a lot of our world history in their franchise, making the Digimon universe one of the richest universes in the anime history, at least from my point of view. Let me say that I do not know all anime and manga, so who knows, maybe there are other anime as rich as Digimon. Make sure to let me know in the comment section if you know some. By the way, I'd love to stop by what I just said. I said that Digimon took a lot of our world history with the emphasis on our. I always try to spread the message of unity as one people, as one race. I don't feel there is a need to say that a particular story is yours only because you, by coincidence, are born in the country where these stories come from. Let's all enjoy these stories as brothers and sisters from other countries. Now, in the Explaining CycloneMon episode, I discussed certain theories on a Digimon called CycloneMon, as I call it, but I think the right pronunciation would be CycloneMon, a dragon Digimon with one eye. It lost the other in a battle against the Digimon called Leomon, a very badass Digimon who seemed to die one too many times despite its cool appearance. What you need to know about CycloneMon is that its name is derived from two things. For starters, you have the cyclone part, which indicates a large air mass that rotates around a strong center of low atmospheric pressure. However, I don't believe that CycloneMon's name is a reference to a cyclone. I believe there might have been a possible misunderstanding from the Japanese name, as apparently it should be called CycloMon, with the Cyclo being a reference to the Greek and later Roman mythological Cyclops. And you can see some similarities between both creatures. Both are giant. Now, for the Cyclops, it would depend on the versions you're using. Another similarity is that both the Cyclops and CycloMon are one-eyed creatures, even though the Cyclops is born with one eye and CycloMon has but one eye, but again due to his battle with Leomon. In this video I will mostly focus on the similarities and the differences between the Cyclops and CycloMon. However, I will first talk about the origins of the mythological Cyclops. This is what we love to do in the mythological series that take us to various places in our planet. Be aware that the Cyclops origin that I'll explain is obviously much bigger. That is why I recommend that you take your time to read and to inform yourself, as it is very interesting. From the information I could gather, there are many Cyclops that can be distinguished from each other, obviously depending on the literary representations. Though for its origins, many sources I used did point to Hesiod's poem, a Greek poet active between 750 and 650 before Christ. Before we talk about it, let me take you back to a time before the birth of the Cyclops. Their origins would take us back to the beginning of time according to Greek mythology. Everything began with Gaia, perhaps the most important goddess in the Greek pantheon, as she is the personification of Earth and one of the Greek primordial deities. Maybe out of context, I always enjoyed reading about the roles of women in either which mythological context. In another mythological episode, we focused on Christianity and discussed how Lilith, who was the first wife of Adam and not Eve, but then again, when people decide to cut off certain parts of the Bible, no wonder why I would presume that more than 80% of Christians would not know about it. But anyway, we discussed how Lilith wanted to take a more dominant role in her relation with Adam. They clashed and she flew away, only to become a demon afterwards. And apparently, according to some theories, she became the snake that tempted Eve to eat the forbidden fruit. This means that in some way Lilith, or indirectly because of Lilith, we got the start of a generation, and Gaia in Greek mythology is also a start. And that because before Gaia, none of the other great gods and goddesses or even humans would exist. She was responsible for the beginning of life on the planet Earth. Now, Gaia was born from chaos, from the primordial emptiness that existed before time. She was born with Tartarus, the ruler of the deepest, darkest region of the underworld, and Eros, the deity whose beauty inspired the creation of many of the immortal gods yet to come. As Gaia had the unique ability to create life, she gave birth to three deities: Uranus, the personification of the sky, Pontus, the personification of the sea, and Urea, the personification of the mountains. Gaia and his son Uranus were later married and had 12 children together. Well, actually 18 children. The first 12 were born as Titans, each of them possessing particular powers, and they are the gods preceding the Olympians, who actually are their children. Additionally to these 12 Titan children, Gaia had 3 other children who were not born as Titans but rather as Cyclops. Here is a quote from the poem of Hesiod. Then Gaia bore the Cyclops, who have very violent hearts, Brontes and Steropes and strong-spirited Arceus, those who gave thunder to Zeus and fashioned the thunderbolt. These were like the gods in other regards, but only one eye was set in the middle of their foreheads, and they were called Cyclops by name, since a single circle-shaped eye was set in their foreheads. Strength and force and contrivances were in their work. I already like that from the quote we can read that the Cyclops had very violent hearts. CYCLOMON is also a very violent and actually a creature obsessed with bloodshed, and that for the sake of revenge. This means, however, that CYCLOMON was not necessarily born as a violent creature, on the contrary to its counterpart, the Cyclops. So we can already say that from the one eye to the behavior, they are already quite similar. When the mother of the brothers, meaning Gaia, gave birth to the 3 other children, also known as the 100-handed giants, now I'd like to say that, depending on the literary representation, they were born first and not necessarily last. Their father Uranus, who hated and feared not just them but also the Cyclops, imprisoned them in a secret place within their mother, causing her great pain. She took revenge by giving a giant grey cycle to her youngest child, Cronus. And speaking of the Titan Cronus, there is a Digimon we briefly discussed that was inspired by Cronus, and I'm talking about CHRONOMON, a Digimon we compared to the Pokemon god ARCEUS and compared both their abilities to see who would be stronger. I would make sure to link that video at the end of the video. Mother Gaia instructed Cronus to castrate his father, which he did. Afterwards, Gaia asked her son to free his family members, the Cyclops and the 100-handed ones, trapped inside her, but he refused out of fear as he took his father's place as the Sky God. As a consequence, his mother warned him and actually predicted that he would suffer the exact same fate as his father someday, that he would be overthrown by one of his children, which actually happened. His youngest son Zeus defeated him and also the other Titans who actually are his uncles. He did that along with the Cyclops and the 100-handed ones he freed. Depending on the sources, Zeus did not really fight alongside the Cyclops, but they gave him his great weapon, the Thunderbolt, with the aid of which he was eventually able to overthrow the Titans, establishing himself as the ruler of the cosmos. Also, depending on the versions, the Cyclops gave the trident to Poseidon, and to Hades they gave the helmet with the power to turn the user invisible. To tell you the truth, I wish I could say more about Gaia, but I cannot because there are 2 other creatures in the Digimon universe that were inspired by the goddess. In the Explaining Reapermon video, I talked, or in the least mentioned, Gaiamon, and there is, well, not a Digimon but an Appmon also called Gaiamon. Very interesting in design, even though I have yet to discuss this one. I will make a specific video about these 2 and discuss their relation with Gaia. Now, unfortunately, there are more differences than there are similarities between the Digimon CycloneMon and the Cyclops. That might be because CycloneMon, to my knowledge, did not get that much attention, and with that I mean a better development, which I believe is the most important aspect in a story, how you build your characters. Other Digimon did have way more points in common with their mythological counterpart. For example, in a previous video, we discussed the Yamata no Orochi from Japanese mythology and Orochimon from from the Digimon universe, and in appearance we can clearly see that one was inspired by the other, and not just in appearance but also in certain characteristics. But I would say another point CycloneMon kind of has in common with the Cyclops is the fact that they are good at building and creating. The Cyclops gave weapons to Zeus, Poseidon and Hades, depending on the used source, and they are known to be those who built the Cyclopean walls in Mycenae, Tiryns and Agros, places which you can visit. CycloneMon strengthened and enlarged its right arm in the hopes of defeating his foe. He did arm building. I know it is not the building of a weapon nor building a wall, so see it like this. He built his arm, making it look like a wall, with muscles and veins and red claws. There are Digimon who can build weapons though. For example, the Olympus 12 god member Volcanismon, who created weapons with bullets that can chase you to eternity, and that weapon is used by a member of the 7 demon lords. I'd wished CycloneMon could do something similar, just like the Cyclops, aside of making its arm look like it took a lot of steroids. Hi guys, this is the end of the video. I'm happy I got to study the Cyclops because I did not know much about it. I do remember I loved to fight them in the God of War games. Very interesting game, by the way, if you wish to become more curious on Greek mythology. Now, even though the Cyclops and CycloneMon don't have that many similarities, we still got to learn about its true origins, which is the Cyclops, taking us back to Greek mythology. And you will notice that when going on like that, Digimon will take us very far. Heck, it already took us to BALI when we discussed the mythological creature BARONG. Please make sure to check that video, it's also very interesting. Digimon is actually giving us an opportunity to learn more about the history or the mythological history of certain countries or different countries in this planet, and to me, that's one of the biggest blessings we can have, as we can just expand our knowledge to the world. Now, it may have been that CycloneMon and the Cyclops did not have that many similarities, but still, there were some, and I'm sure you guys have a few things to say. So I'd be pleased to reading all your comments, not just about the differences or similarities, but also about your general ideas and thoughts of the two creatures. And in case you are new, please make sure to subscribe and know that all my mythological videos are placed in the mythological playlist. It's a playlist which is always updated, that way you can easily catch up on the newest and the oldest videos.